track laying at Halton Warren and the estate manager's yard. Hi, welcome back to Halton Warren OO9. I'm Mark, and it's been about 6 weeks since I put out the last video. Why is that then? Well, things got in the way. One was the weather, and it got so cold up here I just couldn't do anything. My hands were absolutely freezing and numb, so trying to do stuff up here was a bit awkward. But I haven't been idle. So what have I done with the railway? We have cleared up the end of the railway down on this side because that was a total mess. Now to get that clear, some of the stuff's been thrown out, but I've now put in some storage, which is very basic, but it works. The other job I wanted to do was put the slidable tray in to put the devices on for the DigiKeys devices, which I've done, and I've installed those. I've put them in place. Now the other thing I've been doing is I've been trying to get my head around iTrains as well. I've started to follow Bob Fuller's tutorials, and I'm just going to put out a little short video about that in the next couple of weeks or so to show where I went wrong basically. I didn't planning, terrible, should have got that sorted out. Anyway, I've wasted a bit of time, but I didn't waste time because I actually learned from the mistakes I made, which is always a good thing. Now the other major thing we've done is we've laid the Cork on the track beds on this side. So that's the Halton Warren station area, the Halton Warren junction and the estate manager's board. So we'll just have a quick look and I'll take you through what went wrong there as well. Everything goes wrong, but trial and error, and you've got to keep trying, haven't you? And in the end, hopefully it's come out right. Anyway, enough waffling, I'll show you what I've done. Right, as you can see, the cork is down. It's we've got the track beds here which have got the cork on, and we've got the estate manager's yard baseboard which is all now corked up. Now I actually did the corking twice on these, and the reason for that is I thought that it was going to be easier, save a bit of time as well, by using a spray adhesive, which is this Evo Stick Impact Instant Contact Adhesive. Now there was a couple of problems with that. The prudent way of doing this was outside. It's very confined in here. The last thing I wanted was this stuff going everywhere and breathing it in and the fumes. Now the only problem with doing this outside was it was a calm day to start with, but there was the odd puff of wind. Every time the wind came out, the strings of this got blown away. Most of it was landing on my other sweatshirt, which is now in the bin because it's very sticky and I can't get it clean. But the other problems with this is it comes out on a very fine spray and gives you a very fine coat. Now that's probably okay if you're sticking up, I don't know, like displays or something like that, but it wasn't manly enough for this job. Now I took the boards inside to get them dry because, as I say, it's damp down here and I didn't want to try and stick damp areas together. So these went down in the kitchen overnight, so they were nice and dry. In the morning I brought them up, got everything ready, sprayed this on, and then because it was quick, I managed to get everything down without, and my fear was using the liquid stuff, rubbing it down, because of the amount of areas would dry out, patches would dry out, and I'd end up with bubbles. Now that's not what I wanted, so I thought this was the way to go. As I say, this is a very thin coat. The wood's porous, so I think this probably got sucked into the wood. Anyway, once I stuck it down, it seemed quite good, and the following day it was seen quite good. But it's damp and cold down here and it might have taken a day or two to cure. Anyway, I came down a few days later and this was all bubbled and these had started to lift. So, didn't need that, did I? I mean, when you put your track down, you kind of bubbles and lumps and bumps underneath it. So, we scraped off all the cork. Now, most of it, as said, had bubbled up anyway, so that was easy. But on the edges, I'd put quite a thick layer of glue down. And that's what got me thinking about, you know, just the fine spray. But I put quite a bit of glue on the edges and they were quite difficult to get off. I had to scrape them and then sand it all down. So I still wanted to use Evo Stick, and I went for a can of this, which is the 528 Instant Contact Adhesive. High initial grab, high strength and fast drying. So I thought that might do the job. It's a litre can and I've used most of it. I probably put it on too thick in places. But after 2 weeks, it's still flat, it's still level, and it's still stuck there. Why did I go for Evo Stick? Well, I have had problems with the PVA glue, even the woodwork stuff. Down here in the shed, as I say, it's quite damp, and the caulk I did on the fiddle yard has started lifting, and that was with wood quality PVA glue. So hopefully, and reading the instructions on this, it should be okay down in damp areas once it's dried and cured off. And it seems to be. It's rained like billy-o out here for the last couple of weeks, but this is still nice and flat, there's no bubbles in it, and I think we're good to go. Now the next stage is to paint the caulk. Now I want to paint the caulk because if I miss a gap or miss putting down some scatter or some ballast, what I want to do is see some brown, which could be taken as earth or something, rather than caulk. So that's going to be the next stage, to paint the caulk up. But before I do that, I just wanted to check the track plan on here and to make sure I've got everything ready, because what I want to do is paint, let the paint dry, and then start getting this track down. It's been a long time coming. So yes, I've got the track. I've got the points. Most of those are new. I've got a couple of that I've used before, but they're in fairly good condition, so they should be okay. And I've got the point motors, so everything's good to go. Now, talking about the point motors, right, so this point here, when I was doing one of the planning videos, I worked out that this point here was going to sit directly over the helix track that comes round about here. Now, being that it's sitting over the top there, I realised that if I used a DCC cobalt point motor, one of these, by the time I fixed it underneath, there wasn't going to be enough clearance for the trains coming underneath. They were going to foul on this. So there was two things I considered. One was to put a point motor in here, and then I thought, no, because it's going to be too tight. I've got to disguise it, because I don't want just a point motor. I've got to put building over it, or a stack of something, or some tarpaulin to make it look like a piece of goods or something that's been left at the side of the track. But it was going to be too tight for the coaches and trains to get either side of it. So the other option was to move this point from here just up a bit, and then move this one up as well, so that it just moved the whole section along. When I put that video out, there's a chap called Bob Fuller, and I've mentioned Bob a few times before. He's the bloke who's doing iTrains, and I'm working through his videos at the moment. He said about the MTB point motors, which are a low profile slow action point motor. Had I heard about them, and the fact that they can be mounted under the trackboard, under the baseboard. Now yeah, I did know about them. Not only did I know about them, but I've actually got one. And that's when I was doing the track plan, I was thinking about putting one on here and thinking I can't get through here. Numpty here wasn't realising that you can mount these underneath. So thank you, Bob, for pointing out the obvious, and I don't know why I missed it. Anyway, so the idea now is to put one of these point motors underneath this board here, and it still gives plenty of room for the trains to get over. And just to show you the difference, look at the difference on the profile here. So this side here is what gets screwed to the baseboard. The cobalt motor is what, 1, 2, about 3 times deeper. So putting that underneath should be fine, and it shouldn't obstruct the trains underneath. So thinking on from what Bob had said about using these underneath, I then thought it's going to be a bit prudent to have a look and see if I've still got the correct clearance for these to go under the other parts of the track. Now, one of the things that's happening is there is a branch line coming up here behind a backboard, which will be about here somewhere, and then the buildings will be in front of this. But here I wanted either 2 sidings or a run round loop, and I thought I might get away with it, I might not. So what we decided to do was pop into Leighton Buzzard. I was already in Leighton Buzzard, so decided to pop into AGR Model Railways, and I bought myself 2 more of these point motors. They're slightly different. This one's got a plug-in section at the side, so you can mount it up, then you just plug your wiring in, which I suppose makes it a lot easier in some places. These ones you just wire straight into the point motor itself, so they're smaller again. But before going down to Leighton Buzzard, I did have a look round, and when I was doing the caulking, I'd noticed that I might have a bit of a problem with the junction up there and the point. I think I'm going to be okay, but while I was there, I decided that it would be prudent again to buy a third one of those motors. Now these are $19.95 if you walk into the shop, but if you buy them online, you do get a couple of quid or two off them, so it's well worth going online. AGR Model Railways, Leighton Buzzard. Right, paint wise, I just wanted some cheap paint. I just wanted to get some poster paint or something like that. So just down the road we've got a garden centre that's got one of these workshops in it. Not a workshop, but a shop that's called Works, and they sell a whole load of books and cheap stuff. They had lots of poster paint, and they had it in loads of colours. But they didn't have it in brown, and they didn't have it in red or green, so I couldn't make up my own one. What they did have though was this acrylic paint. So it's only a base colour, so if it does lift I'm not too worried, but it's just a case of mixing your own. They were £2 each a tube, which isn't too bad. The poster paint, you got slightly more than one of these tubes for a quid, and that would, buy two of those and it would have definitely covered it and been slightly cheaper. For a couple of quid though, not really bad. So what I'm going to do is mix this up on the boards, just paint it over, and then I'll show you the end result, because what you don't want to do is watch paint dry, really, is it? So I'll get back to you in a minute or two. So I think I just said I'll be back in a minute or two. It was a bit longer than that. That video was actually put together on the 20th of February. Today is the 30th of April. Lots been going on with the railway and other bits and pieces in my life, so got a bit behind with it all, didn't it? I have been progressing though. I did go away, I painted those boards, and they took over a week to dry. I couldn't believe it. I know it's damp down here, but that was just stupid. In the end I ended up taking the boards back into the kitchen, loads of newspaper on the floor, propping them up right, and it took about another 2 days for them to dry even down there. So let's just show you where we are now. Right, so we've got the caulk bed down, we've got it painted, and as you can see we're now getting some track down. Now the track now comes up from the helix, it's joined on where those two blue dots are, comes round and then into the station area. The one just in front, the middle track, that's the one that will go up to Halton St Barnabas, and the front one here is the one that goes into the estate manager's yard. If we come down a little bit, we've got the junction there, the Halton Warren junction, and then it curves round, and in the cutting it joins up with the track just by Brambley Croft Bridge there. Now you might have noticed, and I did point out, that there was two blue dots just here. So there's two blue dots there, the other side of that will be two green dots. That one there will stay two blue dots. This has got a blue and a red dot, and I think at the other end we've got blue and yellow dots. Now that's just to indicate where the brakes are in the track, because that's where the power districts start and stop. So there's 4 power districts, there's red, green, blue and yellow. Right, so the next stage is to get the board back up here for the estate manager's yard and start to get the track on there. Right, so most of the track is down, as you can see. Now you might pick up these little red and green dots here. This is where the magnets are, the permanent magnets are for the uncoupling. Still trying to get my head around what couplings I'm going to use on here, but in case I use the Greenwich or something like that, I thought put the magnets in while I was going. Right, so the trains come in here. Goods trains will go off at the back here. This area at the back will be for all the goods. We've got a run round loop there. Whether it's large enough I don't know. My concern at the moment is by the time the wagons come here, if they want to release the loco, it's got to come up here, come round, come into this space, maybe push them up into that area then, and then you can pull out and go back. Passenger trains come in here. We've got the 2 sidings here. This is for stabling the carriages overnight, and then just past them here is going to be the carriage works, and then these are the cables to connect to the two rails or the two lines that are going to come in there. There's more wiring got to come in because obviously I'm going to want lighting in there. You can see here the red and green dots which are marking the permanent magnets for the uncouplers. Back to the start of the estate manager's office, we come down here, miss out the carriage lines, and then we have got here a general siding. Now that might be for the permanent way, it might be to stable some locomotives overnight, it might, I don't know, it's just a general siding anyway. And then down here the engines will come in. This will be the servicing area with the water, the coal and maybe diesel. We've got an ash pit here, and then the engines can go here and wait overnight and then come back out and go, or they can come down into here, which will be the engineering workshop for the locomotives. As I say, there might be another building on the back here just to make it big. I want to quite detail these interiors, so to actually get like lathes and cupboards and storage and stuff, I might have to expand that footplate a bit there. And then there might be a track just coming off the back there, I don't know, store some wheels on it or a redundant engine or something like that. Right, so slightly different view. I've just had another thought actually. I could have got a second siding in here for goods, but I don't know, I'll think about that. Anyway, so this is the goods at the top here. As I say, this is for stabling the coaches overnight, and then at the back here we have got the carriage workshops. This is the general siding, and then this will be for the locomotives. We've got an ash pit here, we've got a workshop there, so it's quite limited space there for storing locos on, but most of them will be on the layout. It's only the odd one or two that will be on here anyway, so and the room is quite tight. So yeah, we'll flip this over and we'll take a look at the other side. Right, so all that track goes down. You obviously need a bit of wiring to support it and point motors to operate the points. So I've got my point motors in. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the DCC Concepts IP analog point motors, and then here we've got one of the MTB MP1 point motors, and I had to put that in because I explained earlier the track down here is getting a bit close to the track. This board, so I had to make sure there was enough clearance to get a train underneath it, hence putting that in there. It's the first time I used them, so it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, all the rest of the wires in. The black and the red are the feed wires, either to the sections of track or to the points to supply power. The blue and yellow ones are the ones to operate the point motors, and the green ones are the frogs. Okay, so all the red wires, like these ones here, are all coming down and they go off to the block detection. The black wires come down here and terminate on here, and then there's just one wire running back to the circuit board or the control board down at the bottom. Also on here we have got the feeds up to the frogs for the points, and the points themselves, obviously the red and the black have to supply both to the points themselves, and the points aren't on block detection, so again they're all terminated on these connection blocks. Well, there you go then. Apologies if there's too much background noise on here. The birds are out singing, the sheep are in the field that backs onto the garden. It's the first hot sunny day we've had for a while, and I think all the creatures, great and small, out there are enjoying it. So am I. So this is where we're at. We've now got the track down, we've got the electrics done, we've got the point motors in. I'm sorry I haven't filmed any of that. As I said earlier, time constraints really, anxiety levels as well. When I have had the time and when I have felt up to it, it's getting down into the shed, doing some work, and then moving on to the next thing. And if you film these things, if you video these things, it can mean that a fairly straightforward task actually takes you 2, 3, 4, 5 times longer, because you're getting the camera angle right, you're making sure that it's in shot, and it just stretches it out. So I suppose as a dedicated YouTube contributor, I should take that on board. Sorry, I want to get my railway done. So yes, and the positive out of that is the fact that I have around 400 subscribers. The majority of you have stuck with it. their numbers have gone up and down, and I fully understand why. People subscribe because they enjoy what you do. If you don't, not doing it, people get bored and go dump. So that's fine, I can understand that. Hopefully, although the Leighton Buzzard Narrow Gauge Railway is now heading into its main season, and although I'm still trying to get my head around some of these new roles, and although I've got some personal issues going on as well, I want to get down here more. It's nice and sunny, let's have the door open, listen to the birds and actually do some work down here. It's really relaxing, and that's what it's all about. So until next time, thank you for watching. Happy modelling, whatever modelling you do, whether you're actually physically involved in a layout or whether you just follow people on YouTube. We still get enjoyment out of the hobby, don't we? So yeah, as I say, until next time, thank you and goodbye.